Gerri McCritty from Power Gallery here at LCTV, Channel 66, downtown Lancaster. You are watching Shining a Light. Today, I'm going to be shining a light on a good sister who is doing wonderful work in this community. Chynaan, please share with our viewers where you're from, your name, and about yourself.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity, Gerri.
Thank you.
I'm originally from, well, my name is Reverend Dr. Chynaan MarYoung-Cooke.
Yeah.
And I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
And had resided in Queens, in the Queens area, for about over 30 years.
Okay.
And I've been a performing artist for over 35 years. But I relocated here to Lancaster
Yes.
to go to school at Lancaster Theological Seminary, where I got my master's, and then at Pacific School of Religion for my doctorate of ministry.
Wow. So many titles.
I'm paying for it.
Hey. And it seems like you're reaping the benefits.
I'd say, yeah.
Share with me a little bit of how was that journey for you, transitioning with all those many years of experiences under your belt. How was it transitioning for you from New York here to Lancaster? How was that pace?
Well, I knew that I wanted to pursue my education.
Mm-hmm.
And for years, I was a caretaker of my parents.
Gotcha.
And so when my mother passed, and both, my father was partially paralyzed. My mother was very ill, and so she passed in 2012, and my father passed in 2017. And at that point, I said, I can invite myself to live my life.
Wow.
And so with that said, it has always been a lifelong passion for education. I'm big on education equity. And so I applied at Lancaster Theological Seminary, and kind of the rest is history. That was in 2018.
Nice. So the seminary, people who go there, for me, it's like you have to have a certain calling, certain spiritual calling. How was that for you? How did that happen? How did you dig inside to let that come out? To make you want to go and pursue this?
Well, I knew that I had a call, and I was in discernment in terms of what that call looked like. I was already a licensed minister with the Fellowship of Affirming Ministries. So as a queer faith leader, I wanted to be a part of a community that would be open to all of me, not just one side of me or a version of me, but that would take the whole of who I was. Now, I didn't realize that the institution of Lancaster Theological Seminary, which is coming on its 200th anniversary, was a predominantly white institution.
Yes.
And it broke me down.
Okay.
It broke me down. And the challenges that I had was trying to find my indigenous identity, and also how do you have conversations that deal with your indigenous side along with your religious side. And so during my process of spiritual formation, I went from being very confident that I was just going to be a pastor to being deconstructed. And so by the time I graduated, I was called Church of the Nun.
Oh, wow.
None.
Can I ask you what was that about?
So Church of the Nun basically is that I have a Christology, which means that I was, raised Catholic.
Gotcha.
I had more of an eclectic kind of non-denominational thing. I wouldn't call myself a humanitarian because I still had that Christ-centeredness.
Gotcha. Okay.
But what I would say is that the Bible and the culture of church did not make space for a woman, not a woman of color. And so there were things that I wrestled with, and because representation was not explicit for someone like me.
So you found out here in Lancaster, did you find, because I found it when I came here, I did not expect that Lancaster was going to be so diverse. You expect only one kind of people, and we all here. And for me, finding out that diversity was like a big plus. How was that for you?
Well, what I learned, I think that was really powerful for me was that my tribe was my vibe.
Yeah.
Right?
I
And so
like
what
that.
do I mean by that is that your tribe being your vibe is not a color,
Yeah.
it's not a status.
Yeah.
It is those who gravitate to your frequency. And so what happened was I had some challenges with white cis men. And I said, I don't know what that is. And I said this was going to be something that I tackled. So I remember going to the Wear Center, and I asked the facilities people and the security,
Yes.
who's the one in charge?
Yes.
They know everyone.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
So I don't
yes.
go, you don't go to the head honcho
Right.
initially. They say, oh, you want to talk to Barry Kornheiser.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I walked up to Barry Kornheiser and I said, hi, my name is Chynaan. I'm new to the area and I have what you need.
Woo! Yes.
And he kind of laughed and he said, do you really? And I said, yes. And I said, how do I get on that stage?
Yeah.
And he said, well, here's my card. He said, let me see what you have.
Yeah.
And I gave him my information, and he saw a little bit of my the work that I
Yeah,
did. And he said,
yeah.
oh, I'm impressed. He said, I can give you 5 minutes. I said, I only need 3. He said, I'll give you 5.
Shout out to Barry Kornheiser.
Hey, Barry.
y'all. Woo! Wear Center.
And so I did have an opportunity with some other artists to interpret a fine artist, and we came with mixed media. I sang to the artist's work, and I was supposed to go first, and somehow I went last,
Okay.
and I got a standing ovation. So then he said, okay. He was like, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
So I waited a little bit of time, maybe a month, and I said, oh, thank you for the opportunity, Barry.
Yeah.
When can I have the stage to myself?
Yeah.
And he said, show me what you have. So, oh my God, I got to create something. And so that's where Afro-Hispanic Synchronicity, it was a one-woman show in 2019.
Okay.
And it was well received.
Nice.
And unfortunately, pandemic hit.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. Move me on to the next story. I want to talk about your talents. You're hidden, all those beautiful talents you've got. I've seen you in the works. Where does that come from?
Well, I've been a performing artist over 35 years. And so...
Is it like writing, dancing? Which or
It's
I mean,
multi, right? So I do spoken word, but my first skill set, I would say, is vocal. So my background is in musical theater, classical. Most of the time when I would go on tour, though, I was kind of typecast as the Patti LaBelle, Aretha Franklin type, robust, vocalist. So that was my moneymaker, right? And I love that, but sometimes you get like kind of pigeonholed, like a one-trick pony. And as a creative writer and as someone who loves scholarship, I wanted that more than just the singing and the dancing and the acting. And it's been a little bit of a journey to try to merge all of them. Yeah.
So how is it like you doing the creative procedure, doing the work itself, as a creative? I'm a multidisciplinary artist. I know I pull from all over the place, to make one. How's your process?
So my process is as an artivist. And what an artivist is someone who uses their activism in art, their platform, my platform as a spiritual leader. It's always about conversation and how do we teach each other to develop in community. And that's where I kind of adopted this idea of Ubuntu, which means I am, therefore we are. We are, therefore I am. And so in our community, spiritual community, a lot of people liken it to Martin Luther King, which used this phrase called beloved community. And Ubuntu is not religious, it's communal.
Right.
But it will, and it does impact the church if it's used powerfully.
Nice. So that brings me to my next question, wanting to dive more into the Ubuntu, so people can really understand what it's all about. Because it's a really good, powerful thing to adapt that you're spreading. Where
Yes.
did you get that from? I mean, what drove you to channel into Ubuntu?
So, shout out to Lancaster Theological Seminary and to Ann Thayer.
Hey.
She was one of my mentors and the professor of church history.
Okay.
And in one of her classes, she had something about global spirituality. And that word just came up, it just lifted on the page, Ubuntu.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, this reminds me of my family in the Caribbean, in Trinidad.
Yeah.
And as I thought about like this idea of community, I didn't realize that there was my family, some of my family was poor.
Yeah.
And the reason why I didn't know that was because they had orange trees, mango trees, they had chickens, they go into the water and get fish, and
Yes.
people would come together from far and wide to eat together. And so there was something that I saw with our community, Caribbean, and then I said, oh, but it comes from somewhere else, which was West Africa.
Yeah.
And that allowed me to see that my Caribbean identity and ancestry goes back to Africa. And that is really what caused me to be on this journey of implementing and having passion for the Ubuntu philosophy.
Nice, nice. So I recently learned from a little birdie that you were in Africa.
Yes.
How was that for you with Ubuntu? How was that journey?
Okay, so the first time that I was in Africa, Lagos was the capital.
Yes.
And I was with Bob Marley's wife, Rita Marley.
Rita, yes.
Yes, but I was very young, probably about 18 or 19.
Okay.
I didn't even out of a airplane onto a stage.
Yeah.
Didn't look any different than somewhere in America somewhere.
Right.
But we had a good time, good experience. I was a young performer. But this time, having recently got my doctorate,
Okay.
and really pushing this idea of Ubuntu, I wanted to know how in West Africa we went to Abuja, then we were in a place called Uyo,
yes.
which is very hot, but wonderful people there. And I got a chance to speak to some of the students in Uyo University.
Okay.
And what I realized is that as I was asking the students and different villagers about Ubuntu, they said, we don't know about that. But what you're talking about is just African community, behavior.
Yeah.
Some people did know, like if they were probably in their later 50s or 60s, they said, oh, that's with South Africa. That's with Nelson Mandela and Bishop Desmond Tutu.
Yeah.
And so what I came to find out was that it was not necessarily understood in that way, but the aspects of community may have different names depending on where in Africa you come from.
But it's all the same.
It's all the same.
It's all
yeah.
the same.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very beautiful to hear.
Yes.
I can't move my eyes from these circles on your clothes. They're beautiful,
Thank
wonderful patterns.
Thank you.
Do they mean anything to you?
They do. So for me, it's my full identity is I am a priestess or empress of sorts, and then the colors are indicative of the globe and my queerness, my pansexuality, and the white. I wear robes often. I prefer robes in this way, and not with a collar, but with some indication that I am righteous.
Got you.
Right? So whether I'm in church or whether I'm in public square, I usually like to don this. And my son, Namba Walshak, he creates and he designs it especially for me in Nigeria.
Well, shout out to Namba.
Namba, we love you. And my grandchildren.
Nice. So, where do you draw your inspiration from?
People. People.
Any kind of people.
Yes, and usually I have a loose idea of the creativity that I want to produce. Oftentimes, it's about healing through community. It's intergenerational, so I love to see from 4 years old to 104, right? And it's about what do we bring to the space. So if someone says, "Oh, well, what's your prescription?" I don't know. It depends on the people. I don't create by myself. We create as a community. So people will always inspire me because without the people, there's nothing to produce.
So where is Chynaan going to be next? How can we find you? Your next performances? You got any good old things coming up? I know you do.
So this Thursday, I will be lecturing at Villanova University.
Nice.
And I will be talking about how Ubuntu demonstrates love in culture.
Okay.
And one of my colleagues, she's working on her PhD. Her name is Takoa Robinson. She teaches that class. And so I have the opportunity to do that. Now, I graduate May 25th.
Okay.
And that's in Pacific School of Religion.
Nice.
Shout out to the Pacific School of Religion folks.
Yeah.
So I'll be in California, and then after that, I will be pastoring. I will be an interim pastor at a church in Maryland, Westminster, called St. Paul. So that will be from June to September.
Okay.
So I'll still be working at the library at Lancaster Theological Seminary. So
and I know you do some work with YWCA here in Lancaster too.
I
Right?
do. Yes, I do. So I'm a racial equity trainer.
Okay.
And I do some facilitation, particularly with empowerment with women. And just recently, in March, we had a wonderful drumming and healing circle empowering women through Ubuntu, and it was so well received. It was beautiful. Nice. So shout out to Isabel and Hannah and Stacy Blake, all the wonderful people at the YWCA.
All right.
Yeah.
And just before we go, any words of inspiration you would like to give our viewers out there? Anybody who's looking to do something like what you're doing? What good piece of advice would you give someone?
Well, what I would say is that for those who have a passion, first learn how to connect with yourself. Give yourself the love that you want to give other people. When you find yourself at peace with yourself, you can be at peace with others. And nothing is too small. If you believe in it, do it. The people will come. God bless you.
I say. Dr. Chynaan MarYoung-Cooke, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gerri McCritty, shining a light at LCTV, coming from Pava Gallery also. Thank you.